Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is Friday, the 28th of January 2022. These are the stories that we'll be discussing on this last day of the week of the month of January. Now, our first story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns Pakistan's war against terrorism and extremism. We know what has happened in Cage. 10 soldiers have been martyred in a confrontation with the terrorists in the Cage district of Balochistan. This was, of course, released in a statement by the ISPR. Our Prime Minister has also tweeted about our brave soldiers who continue to lay down their lives to keep us safe from terrorists. He also saluted the 10 martyred soldiers who laid down their lives for the motherland. What needs to be done now that we see a slight increase in the number of such incidents starting from 2021, in fact after a period of 6 years in Balochistan? We'll be discussing that in our first segment. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, pertains to the Ukraine crisis. Now, as more or less every third or fourth day we hear a statement coming from the United States of America that Russia is going to invade Ukraine. We know that 100,000 Russian troops are there on the border. They say it is because they are doing military drills with Belarus, which of course is something that is being negated by the West and by the United States of America. Now, the US President also hinted at a direct possibility or of an incursion into Ukraine by Russia next month. And at the same time, he has also asked China to intervene. Anthony Blinken, in fact, has asked China to intervene in order to diffuse this crisis. We'll be talking about that in our second segment. Then, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking about COVID-19, Omicron, and how the pandemic is reaping havoc more or less across the world, including in Pakistan. We've had the highest number of cases this last 24 hours in Pakistan. Also, the NCOC has extended the curbs that had been announced last month until the 15th of February in order to curtail the further spread of this pandemic. This is going to be our third story. Then we'll be talking about polio and how it has been now 1 year that there has been no new case of polio reported across Pakistan. This was also tweeted in a congratulatory message by Dr. Faisal Sultan, who is a special assistant to the Prime Minister. And also, of course, we will be talking about how important is it for the people across Pakistan to give the polio drops to their children below the age of 5. Let's begin with our first story, ladies and gentlemen, that concerns Pakistan's war against terrorism and extremism. We have seen what happened between Tuesday and Wednesday night in Cage. 10 soldiers were martyred, they lost their lives. Why this increase in terrorism since the last 1 year? More in the following report.
The recent surge in terrorist violence in Pakistan indicates that country's indispensable battle against terrorism is not over yet. Pakistan's largest province, Balochistan, became latest victim of terrorist bloodshed as at least 10 soldiers embraced martyrdom in an attack on security checkpost, plunging the country into deep sorrow and gloom. According to ISPR, a follow-up clearance operation is ongoing and 3 suspects had been apprehended since the attack. Eulogizing brave sons of soil, Premier Imran Khan paid tribute to martyrs by stating that Pakistan's brave soldiers continue to lay down their lives to keep us safe from terrorists. Attacks against Pakistani security forces in southern Balochistan have been on the rise, and this atrocious checkpost attack was the second such attack in a month. An Islamabad-based think tank, the Pakistan Institute for Conflict and Security Studies, revealed in a report that the country witnessed a 56% surge in militant attacks during the year 2021 after significant decline in the attacks during the previous 6 years. Underlining firm resolve in its commitment to rid the country of all forms of terrorism, Pakistan has been mobilizing all its resources to combat this menace.
Now, to discuss this recent spate of terrorist incidents in Pakistan, as far as statistics show, militants have carried out 294 attacks in 2021, that is last year, in which 395 people have been martyred, 186 civilians, 192 security personnel. To talk about that, different elements behind it and more, we've been joined by Brigadier retired Tariq Zaman Saab. He's an analyst. Brigadier Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. Brigadier Saab, let's talk about, first of all, why have these incidents increased since 2021 in Balochistan?
Let me tell you a little background, because as far as war on terror is concerned, entire world knows and universally accepted, globally accepted, that Pakistan has been successful in eliminating terrorism from the country. Because just look back about a decade ago, you used to be seeing it, noticing it yourself, that a lot of bomb blasts, terrorist attacks.
Of course.
Hundreds of the civilian people dying in the cities, populated areas, mosque, even during funeral and many other activities. And they had been killed. And then 2014 started, then APS attack. After that, Pakistan Army, because they were already doing it.
An action plan.
Lot many operations. You go for Operation Rai, Ras, Rai Najat, then Zarb-e-Azam. That was the main thing. You just focused on North Waziristan. That was a difficult area because all hideouts were there. They were breeding spots, and all sort of activities were being generated from there. So they went all out, eliminated them. Their all hideouts were smashed. People were killed, terrorists were killed, and few of them, remnants one, they went across and went towards the Afghanistan. But thereafter, you might have seen that terrorism started dying down, starting from 2015. From 2015 to 2017, you just see there was a substantial decrease in the terrorist attacks in the country, and situation was under full control. Thereafter, from 2017 to 2019, another 37% reduction. 2020 comes, and 20 to 21. Yes, there has been a little increase in terrorist attacks, not only in Balochistan, here in Fatah area as well. But let me tell you that this had to happen. Just take the example of a lizard.
Why, in your point
I'm
of
telling
view,
you,
did this have to happen?
because TTP was totally smashed. They were crushed. Few of the leadership, they went across. And you know, we all know, entire world knows, and I don't hesitate in telling this thing, that it is being sponsored by our arch rival, India, because they are being sponsored, they are being funded, they are being militarily equipped as well. All weapons are being provided to them. Pakistan did a very good thing. You went for fencing across Afghan border, around more than 95% completed. So the to and fro movement, that was also stopped. Thereafter, once Taliban in Afghan Taliban, they succeeded, and now their strategy is totally changed because they are concerned as for the survival of their own country. There had been a linkage between the two, TTP and Taliban of Afghanistan, but now they disowned them. And the good thing is that they are cooperating with Pakistan. Pakistan has requested, and I think being a good neighbor, they should also respond and reciprocate, because you know that all food grains, medicines, and despite being poor as far as the economy is concerned, Pakistan, we are helping them all out, and we are promoting and propagating their case all over the world. That world should come also help them.
So why this resurgence in 2021?
I'm telling why it has happened, because you know, take the example of a lizard. Once you just kill, smash, tail jumps last moment, and that is the tail only. Let me tell you that they know the TTP people, because you know that their leadership is being killed in the other countries as well. Pakistan is not to be blamed, because they are receiving the dividends, or the what all they have done, they are being penalized for that. So they are taking some sort of revenge, and just to show their presence, still we are there active. But let me tell you, this is my own perception, that this is just going to be the last surge. Thereafter, this will be totally dying down.
All right.
As far as TTP is concerned. But now,
we have also the BLA.
Yes. Now I'm coming to that Balochistan area, because the most recent episode which you said.
Cage.
Yeah, the Cage. You know, Cage is part of Makran division. Makran has 3 districts: Cage, then Panjgur, and then Gwadar. This is mountainous terrain, and 100% population is Baloch. All right. Baloch tribe is there. Unfortunately, you took initially you focused on this TTP area, Fatah, Waziristan, north and south. Here you try to cover them. You try to control them diplomatically as well, and you know they are being sponsored. There are basically two main you can say groups, BLA and BLF, Balochistan Liberation Front. They are being sponsored by India. There is no doubt about it. And you know this this Cage area is about 800 kilometers from Quetta, right next to Iran border. Hideouts are there. Pakistan has tried, because whenever you try to make a grip over there, the persons, missing persons, and all sort of, cries started coming up, being sponsored by India, and some of the, unfortunately, I must say that locals as well, some of the journalists, so-called journalists, they have been standing for them. Once, what I would say, once war is there, any person picking up a weapon against the state, he's fighting against the state. He is the enemy. The way somebody crosses the border and attacks on you, what do? You kill them. That is a war.
All right.
And here, once you kill them, and a lot of people come for their rescue as well, just to create unrest in the country.
Well, when you talk about unrest, Brigadier Saab, unrest has been created, as we've talked about in the very beginning, since the last couple of months, in fact, since 2021. And I talked about the statistics about 2021 as well, in which 395 people have been martyred in such incidents. And when we come to Balochistan, there has been another incident last week as well. If we talk about Sheikh Rashid Saab, our Interior Minister, who also addressed a press conference in Islamabad last week, in which he talked about a recent rise in incidents of terrorism in the country. Is it A, in your point of view, because Pakistan is stabilizing itself? Is it B, because we have gotten rid of most of the terrorist elements? Is it C, because there are countries that want to change the geopolitical or geostrategic atmosphere of this whole region? What's your point of view?
Pakistan has control. As far as terrorism is concerned, you know that Pakistan has succeeded. In Afghanistan, India was sitting there and NATO country was there. India invested a lot, you know that, billions of the dollars they invested, trillions of the dollars were invested by are spent by the NATO forces and the allied countries. Now, India's main effort was to create unrest on our western border. They had to rush out. That was a total failure for them, and there was no option for them for the future and no scope. Certainly, they would try, and they are trying. And now, let me tell you one thing very categorically, that they're not going to. Pakistan is stabilizing, no doubt about it. That is the main, the statement one which you said, that Pakistan is stabilizing, and they don't want that it should get stabilized.
Of course.
And this really, one point is that once you, for example, India attacks Pakistan, you fight, you return, retaliate, and you kill them as well. No stake comes in. You got my point. There is no cry for the missing persons. And once people have picked up the weapons against the country, and they are fighting against your country, and they are killing your soldiers, so then there should be no question of missing persons are not missing. My point is,
either you're a part of the country, either you support the state or you don't.
And let me tell you, Omar, at most of the times, let me tell you that whenever a person is picked up for investigation, all registration recording is done. His family knows where is he, and if he's clear, he's returned. Otherwise, cases would be, trial would be there in the court. What they do is, they issue a list. Okay, well, these are the missing persons, and Pakistan Army or the security or the agencies have got nothing to do with those people. And incidents have been reported that once they attacked your soldiers in exchange of fire, once they're killed, they were found that this is a person whom they were naming as a missing person. He was there. So they sent them. Reportedly, thousands of the people, those people, they were getting training from India, and thereafter they were getting training from Afghanistan.
So, I mean, if you tell me all of our establishment knows it, our armed forces know this fact, what needs to be the strategy as far as Pakistan is concerned to eliminate the scourge of all such elements and to prevent them to create further havoc in the country?
Well, that's a good question, I must say. Well, in my opinion, and I'm sure the think tanks might have been working on it now, because now they are very, as far as this FATA North and South Waziristan is concerned, we are quite comfortable over there now, and inshallah, TTP will not rise or come up again from there. And you know, the major success was in your operational Zarb-e-Azab and then Raddul Fasad, because you went proactively. You didn't react. You didn't go reactively that they are attacking and you're defending. You moved out, you smashed them, you cleared the area, and now that area is absolutely peaceful. What you need to do is, in Balochistan now, because these are the mountainous areas. They come, hit you, and go back into the mountains, and they are equipped. You know, this last episode of the day before yesterday, they attacked them with the heavy weapons. From where these heavy weapons come? Once you capture, you see that these are Indian origin. They are being provided. Now, the movement from the Afghan or the even Iran side, they are friendly country now. My request to them would be, and I'm sure that our think tanks might have been talking to them, that avenue should be blocked permanently. You go proactively, smash them the way you did it in North Waziristan specifically. Do it, eliminate them from where the weapons would come, and then last point is that have strict vigilance onto these two borders. You have fencing 98% done with Afghanistan, with Iran you're also doing it, and request those countries that please don't allow now, and you have your own check and balance system, I'm sure they're having, but you need to have little more now so that no more reinforcement comes in from their side and just smash them. But this is now a never sort of situation, because Pakistan army has been showing a lot of tolerance, a lot of sacrifices have been given. Now in the most recent episode, you see officers, and the good thing to note is that Pakistan army officers also leading from the front. Officer to soldier kill ratio of Pakistan army is the best in the world. One after every 6 to 7 soldiers. Whenever some soldier embraces shahadat or martyr, officers are also there. So this is the sacrifice being given by the armed forces, by all the security agencies, and nation at large.
All right, now Zaman Sahab, as per the reports, heavy machinery was used in this incident in
Yes,
H.
heavy weapons.
Now these heavy weapons, as you say, come from across the border. How can we control this smuggling or the import of such machinery by illegal means for illegal means?
I think now, as I already mentioned, that they need to have proper strict vigilance. One, asking support from the governments,
but you never get the support from the Indian government, that very well.
No, not from Indian. Because eastern border is totally locked.
Of course.
From their side, there is no chance, no scope.
So it is Iran or Afghanistan?
Either Iran or the Afghanistan. And Iran, I'm sure that they are friendly countries, rather Muslim countries. They might have not been allowing it in the open, but might be some smuggling is being done covertly, hiddenly. But that should also be controlled now. And I'm sure our think tanks might have been now very vigilant, and now they'll excise. I'm sure that they will increase the surveillance system over there, and they will not allow any further. These might have been already stacked over there, these weapons, heavy weapons, and once you go into the mountains, launch a bigger operation and eliminate them, I'm sure that this will be finished. Now, and one thing you might have seen that this Makran district, over the last 5 years, a lot of control has been exercised by the Pakistan army. Troops over there, because terrorism was more in the past over there, but now it has been controlled.
All right, now the last incident in a week, of course, here, the last time it happened in Sibbi, in which, of course, there was another exchange of fire. Now you talked about there needs to be a proper, how should I say, another retort by our armed forces in order to proactively control this.
Yes.
Do you feel we also need the support of our establishment, of our counter-terrorism department and other departments to collectively go forward and do such an operation?
Let me tell you one thing that, alhamdulillah, over the last maybe 1 decade or so, your army is battle-hardened, because they have been fighting against the terrorism. And not only army alone, all the allied departments, like counter-terrorism departments and the intelligence and civil intelligence agencies as well, they have been working with hands in gloves, and they are already supporting. They are working very closely with each other in a very close harmony, and I'm sure that this will continue. So as far as support from the government or the civil government departments is concerned,
this will always be
totally
there.
Granted.
All right.
There.
Thank you very much, Brigadier Tariq Zaman Sahab, to have joined us and to have talked to us about this increase in such activities since the last 1 year or so, and of course the government's resolve along with the armed forces to nip the evil from the bud. And that is, I think, this is what needs to be done now, and very quickly and very swiftly. And we will be looking forward to our armed forces in fighting that.
Add on that after this episode, you know that Pakistan Army There was some speculation, some people were criticizing as well that why ISPR has not given a statement. Actually, they gave a statement. Official statement was, a press release was given, but a little late because they were following up. You know, 3 of them, they have been arrested.
Yes,
That's very good news because of security of information.
And of course, the hunt is also going for to catch the rest of the perpetrators.
And you may, inshallah, hear some very good news in maybe next 2-3 days.
Inshallah, Tariq, Zaman sir, we'll be looking forward to that. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us. This was our leading story, ladies and gentlemen. All the efforts by our armed forces to continue to nip such evils from the bud. Let's start with our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns the Ukraine crisis. What has been happening? There are a lot of developments, whether it be Joe Biden saying that there could be an attack in the next month on Ukraine, or also Anthony Blinken talking to his Chinese counterpart to ask to intervene to diffuse attention in Ukraine. More in the following report.
Relations between Russia and the West have deteriorated after Moscow deployed tens of thousands of troops on its border with Ukraine. Stark warning issued by the White House spokesperson states that President Joe Biden has warned Ukraine's president that there is a distinct possibility that Russia could take a military action against Ukraine next month. During their telephonic conversation, President Biden assured his Ukrainian counterpart that the United States, along with its allies and partners, will respond decisively if Russia further invades Ukraine. Moreover, the United States has called for an open meeting of the UN Security Council next week to confront Russia's threatening behavior over Ukraine. Underlining a sharp escalation of rhetoric, US President Joe Biden has warned of significant economic sanctions as well as personal sanctions for Russian President Vladimir Putin. The Kremlin has denied its plans to invade, but demanded wide-ranging security guarantees, including assurances that Ukraine never be allowed to join the US-led NATO military alliance that were rejected by the US. In response to this, Kremlin signaled little ground for optimism that Russia-US will resolve Ukraine crisis. As Western powers and Russia are heading towards collision course, the current saber-rattling threats push for great power cooperation and diplomacy. However, it is yet to be ascertained that how the world's 2 largest nuclear-armed states manage their arsenals and use them for leverage in current standoff over Ukraine.
Now, to discuss the rapid developments that are occurring as far as Ukraine is concerned, we've been joined by Dr. Andre Kortunov. He's the Director of Russian International Affairs Council. Thank you very much, Dr. Saab, to have joined us. And of course, this is a very important and emerging topic that is developing at a very, very rapid pace. When you see the latest developments, Andre Kortunov, as far as Ukraine is concerned, whether it be Joe Biden that talks about the possibility of an attack on Ukraine next month, or whether it be also Anthony Blinken who talks to his Chinese counterpart to try to diffuse the tension in Ukraine. What is, in your point of view, the West trying to do? Is it trying to create a counter-offensive to the Russian military build-up on the border, or is it trying to diffuse the tension?
Well, I don't think that these two goals are mutually exclusive. The West is trying to diffuse the tension, but doesn't want to take into account Russian security concerns. So basically, what Putin has to signal to the West is that Russia is really unhappy about the current security arrangement in Europe, and it wants the European security system to be more inclusive, so that Russia will be an integral part of the system. Right now, Russia is marginalized, and I think this is something that in the Kremlin would like to deliver to the West.
Dr. Andre Kortunov, could you kindly speak a little bit at a space from your mic, because we can't hear you properly. The voice is quite incoherent. Nevertheless, as far as this Ukraine crisis is concerned, Dr. Andre Kortunov, and of course the developments that occur, and Russia that continues to negate the fact that it does not want to invade Ukraine, why is there such a lot of apprehension from the West?
Well, I think that it was simmering for some time, and indeed Russia did concentrate additional forces on the border with Ukraine. I think that the main purpose of this action is not a military aggression against Ukraine, but rather a signal that Russia would not tolerate an attempt by Ukraine to use military force in order to resolve the Donbass problem, because such an approach would definitely destroy very fragile Minsk agreements that we have as the only foundation for the resolution of the crisis. At the same time, Russia wants to get more attention from the West. The point made by President Putin is that when it gets down to business as usual, you simply doesn't want to listen to us. You want to take into account our grievances, our problems, and this is something that we would like to make very clear to you.
All right. Dr. Andre Kortunov, also one of the main demands by Russia was that Ukraine not be included as part of NATO, and this is a request that has been now denied by the United States of America. And as a response, Russia says that it sees little ground for optimism in resolving the crisis. What happens now, in your point of view?
Is that Russia has to choose between two lines of behavior. It might take a very long time that since
Mr. Kortunov, could you kindly kind of space yourself between the mic? Thank you, so that we can hear you properly. There's a lot of mumble jumble in what you're saying, so we can't understand properly.
Is it any better?
Yes, now it's better. Thank you.
So I think that Russia can choose between two options. The first option would be to take a tougher approach and to say that to consider our most nothing much we can talk about with you.
All right. Now, we are in conversation with Dr. Andre Kortunov, who is the Director of Russian Affairs, International Affairs Council. And what he has been talking about is, of course, he's been giving an extensive point of view on what is happening as far as this Ukraine crisis is concerned. The developments are quite rampant as far as the build-up of tension is concerned. And the fact that there seems to be an escalation as far as the Russia and the West tensions are concerned, whether it be Ukraine or whether it be otherwise, this makes Ukraine a flashpoint. Now, also the fact remains that Russia is emerging again as a major global power, so is China, and that puts the West and the United States in a little bit of a precarious condition as far as its hold in the region is concerned. Whether Ukraine is being used for this or not, this is a huge question mark that we'll need to decipher in the days to come, and let's hope it doesn't get too violent and too quickly changing, so that we can resolve this issue before it's too late. Dr. Andre Kortunov, now that we have you, as far as Russian intentions or the US intentions or the European intentions are concerned, we know that the United Kingdom has given Ukraine anti-tank missiles. There are other countries that are also providing Ukraine with such, of course, with such weaponry. At the same time, there are countries that are not trying to weaponize Ukraine. What, in your point of view, is happening as far as weaponizing Ukraine is concerned? Do you feel, even if there is no incursion by Russia into Ukraine, that there might be a reaction from Ukraine towards these forces?
Definitely, we can talk about danger of escalation in the east. Ukraine might use this opportunity in order to start an offensive in the Donbass area. And definitely that would be a challenge for Russia, because if you look at the leads in Donbass, there are 1 million of Russian citizens, and it would be very difficult to go outside of the city if it escalates. Therefore, Russia is concerned about Ukraine's capacity to the east, about with the United States, with Turkey, so what they want to do is that
All right. There's also another issue as far as these tensions between Ukraine and Russia, and of course the tensions between Russia and the West is concerned. It all hampers also on the future of the gas pipeline project, that is the Nord Stream 2, that was supposed to run from Russia to Germany. And yesterday, officials in Berlin have said the project could face sanctions if Russia attacks. What the West is also saying is that they are going to target Russia's economy if and when it invades Ukraine. And as far as these latest statements that have been emanating from Germany, it creates a lot of concern as to whether these sanctions are going to come extremely hard on Russia if something happens as far as an incursion into Ukraine is concerned. Now, this pipeline, if I just talk about the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, it's a 1,225 kilometer pipeline. It took 5 years to build and cost around $11 billion US dollars. And it was to, of course, run under the Baltic Sea. But now a lot of questions emanate whether it would actually run its full course. Dr. Andre Kortunov, what is the future of this Nord Stream 2 if the situation escalates in the region?
Well, if the situation escalates and if Russia is accused of a direct aggression against Ukraine, I think that Nord Stream will become history. Definitely it will be blocked not only by the United States, but by the European Union, including Germany. However, if Russia does not take an offensive operation in Ukraine, I think Nord Stream 2 might still survive and it might be put into operation at some point later this year.
All right. Also, the German Chancellor is going to talk to his US counterpart also next month. Do you feel there could be any development as far as that is concerned if there is an incursion in the meantime?
Well, Germany is the most interested party in Europe. It really needs energy from Russia, and it considers this project to be economic rather than geopolitical. So if nothing dramatic happens, if there is no war in the center of Europe, Germany is likely to try to convince its other European partners that they should go along with this project. However, we will know in a couple of days whether they are in a position to deliver the message and to get some kind of approval from other EU members.
All right. Also, Andre Kortunov, the US has also been asking China for help, which is very strange coming from the US as far as the recent past with China is concerned. The escalation in tensions between the two countries is also concerned. They are asking China to intervene to help diffuse the tension over Ukraine. Do you feel A, China will intervene, B, if China does intervene and it does cause a de-escalation in tension, that the relationship between the US and China could improve?
Well, indeed, it is a very unusual move given the state of the US-China relations. But I think that the United States is banking on China having good relations with both Moscow and Kyiv, and the perception is that China might be an honest broker between Russia and Ukraine. Frankly, I don't think that China will intervene into this crisis. I don't think that it would like to play an active role in the European continent, but definitely China can deliver a message to Moscow. But on the other hand, if Moscow maintains that they have no intentions to attack Ukraine, then this mediation is probably not even needed.
All right. Also, Andre Kortunov, what do you feel could be the role as far as the Minsk II agreement is also concerned? Because China has been raising a lot of questions on that. Russia has been raising a lot of questions on that. Now, considering the escalation in tension that is happening in Ukraine, do you feel that this Minsk agreement remains a political document which can be applied or will continue to be recognized by all the parties concerned?
Well, this is one of the central issues in this crisis. Russia suspects Ukraine and also the West in deviating from the initial provisions of the Minsk agreement. I think that the fear in Moscow is that Ukraine will de facto abrogate the agreement and will go ahead with a military solution for the Donbas problem, and this is exactly what Moscow is trying to prevent. So one can say that the current military activities along the border with Ukraine are an attempt to deter Kyiv from taking a military action. On the other hand, we all know that it is very difficult for Ukraine to implement the Minsk agreements in full. The agreements are not supported by a large part of the Ukrainian population, by most of the Ukrainian political establishment. So I think we can at best hope that the first 3 points of the Minsk agreements, which are related to the military situation, can be implemented in full. but the political section of the Minsk agreement is likely to remain problematic. I don't think that Ukraine is in a position to implement all of it.
All right. Now, let's talk about taking sides as far as this whole situation is concerned in Ukraine. Whether on the one side we have Russia, we have China that wants to remain neutral. On the other hand, we've got the United States of America and the European Union. The European Union also warns Russia of a robust response if it does invade Ukraine. Do you feel that the relationship between the European Union and Russia has strained of late because of this deployment of troops on the border?
Well, I think that this relationship is becoming more complicated than it was before. Of course, a lot will depend on how Russia responds to the proposals that it has just received from the United States and its European allies. It might either take a very tough approach, everything or nothing, and then it will be probably the end of the conversation, but it might demonstrate flexibility. It might start with issues where it is easier to find some common ground, for example, on bilateral moratorium on Russian and U.S. mid-range missiles in Europe, a buffer zone between NATO and Russia, a resurrection of the NATO-Russia Council. There are issues on which the sides can agree, but it is not related to the most important Russian concerns, namely the enlargement of NATO.
All right. Also, Andre Kortunov, when it comes to weaponizing Ukraine or other countries such as Latvia and this whole crisis that is slowly and steadily boiling, do you feel that there needs to be a little restraint as far as weaponizing of countries in the neighborhood such as Latvia is concerned, or even weaponizing Ukraine unless and until this situation escalates beyond control?
Well, speaking of the political recognition of the secessionist republics in Ukraine, I think it's kind of last option that Russia has. It is likely to do that only if the Minsk agreement collapses completely, because definitely such recognition will also constitute a clear deviation from the terms of the agreement. So I think that if nothing else works, then Russia can use this mechanism. But my guess is that Moscow will be reluctant to refer to it unless there is nothing else left.
All right. Now, finally, Andre Kortunov, I would like to reiterate this again. Russia has been not once, not twice, but many times negated the fact that it is trying to invade Ukraine. Nevertheless, there seems to be a lot of statements emanating from the West that in fact Russia will. And the US has been not the first time Joe Biden has talked about it, not the first time that Anthony Blinken has talked about it. It has been reiterated over and over again in the last few weeks that Russia is going to invade Ukraine. As a political analyst and somebody who understands the region, what do you foresee in the coming months or in the coming days? In fact, months are too long a period.
Well, I don't believe in a Russian offensive in Ukraine. I think that Russia has a lot to lose. If it invades Ukraine, it has very little, if anything, to gain if it does so. So I do believe, or at least I do hope, that we will enter a process of very difficult negotiations with the United States and with NATO on security guarantees to Russia. I don't expect any breakthroughs. I think that the relationship will remain primarily adversarial, but I hope that we'll be in a position to slightly stabilize the whole world situation in Europe.
Thank you very much to have joined us, Dr. Andre Kortunov, Director, Russian International Affairs Council, and to have talked to us about the different aspects of this increase in tension in Ukraine and, of course, the increase in this very negative relationship between Russia and the West over Ukraine. Let's hope some kind of a middle ground is achieved between the parties and this does not escalate beyond control. Let's come to our last two stories very quickly, ladies and gentlemen. The first concerns the pandemic, that is COVID-19, the meeting of the NCOC that was held, and we all know that in the last 24 hours, the number of COVID-19 cases has been the maximum. So, of course, the NCOC has decided that the curbs that are currently implemented will continue to be implemented till the 15th of February. This includes a complete ban on all types of indoor events in areas where the positivity ratio is more than 10%. In the COVID hotspots, it has also been notified that outdoor events will be restricted to 300 fully vaccinated people. Vaccination has also been made compulsory for the students above 12 years of age, and also 52% of the eligible population, as per the NCOC, has been vaccinated against the pandemic. They also said that the highest vaccination rate has been reached in Islamabad. We are here, the capital city. We know that a lot of people have been getting themselves vaccinated and also boosted. This has been followed by Punjab, Azad Jammu and Kashmir, Gilgit-Baltistan, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And of course, what needs to be done in all of this situation is that, of course, as we always say at the end of the show, keep following the SOPs, get yourselves vaccinated, get yourself boosted, and follow the protocols and follow the instructions that have been set out by the NCOC. Finally, speaking of the NCOC, let's talk about Dr. Faisal Sultan Sahib. He's also brought to the limelight another very important aspect, and that is that of polio. Pakistan has been polio free. There have been no new cases of polio in the last 1 year. That message was also tweeted by Dr. Faisal Sultan, who said, we today complete a whole year of 0 polio cases in Pakistan, but environmental samples from a few places highlight the need for a final push. He also said he visited Dera Ismail Khan to discuss the way forward with polio teams, and he said that the goal will be achieved, inshallah. Of course, there's a lot of skepticism as far as this vaccination for polio is concerned. In different areas across Pakistan, people have been saying that either it's a Western conspiracy, or that the polio teams are spies, or the vaccination causes infertility, or contains pig fat forbidden by Islam. All these have been negated. What is important is that everybody who has a child below the age of 5 needs to give the child these polio drops, so that the child does not develop this crippling disease. That is where it all ends. We want Pakistan to remain a healthy country, especially our upcoming generation. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's newsroom. It is the last day of the week, and of course, we'll be joining you again on the 31st of January. That is going to be Monday. Take care of yourselves, follow the SOPs, get yourselves vaccinated. Please take care of yourselves and of those around you. Have a great weekend. Allah Hafiz.